There we go. That's the beginning. Okay, now then. I am speaking to you today from Indiana University, Bloomington, which sits on the ancestral homelands of the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee people. I think that the work we are doing as a Samvera community can and should serve Native communities in North America who exist in displacement, but who have a right to take up space and exist as who they are. If you think this is worth exploring, I would like to talk about the possibilities of adding that destination to this open source journey. So let's talk later. So I use Journey with Hyrax begins in a very simplified way with this visual. So we've got legacy systems, two legacy systems in particular that were created very separately and are coming into our digital collections Hyrax implementation, as well as a pre-Hyrax Samvera application called Pages Online that is also coming into this digital collections Hyrax implementation. And a little bit more details here on the legacy systems. The Archives Online legacy system is our old finding aid site, and the digitized items that are available through that were managed in Fedora 3. And the ingest process for that was using a spreadsheet to list out files in a specific sequence. And that ingest generated a METS XML file, and that maintain the order and sequence for those images alongside the Fedora object. And then we had this custom viewer that you can see in the screenshots here that would load these items based on that METS XML. And we only had 3 sizes of derivatives: a thumbnail, a screen, and a large. And there was no search within at all that was available. That's available in this legacy site. So the other legacy system that we're bringing things in from is Image Collections Online, and it is essentially photograph collections that we've been digitizing. These objects were also stored in the same Fedora 3 digital repository instance as the Archives Online legacy content. And this system has lots of customized metadata fields per collection. So each collection of photographs basically had its own set of descriptive metadata fields that were necessary. And most of the time, as opposed to the Archives Online information, the content there, most of the time this was one image per record. The Archives Online system would tend to be multi-page items, a lot of like folders of things that are digitized all together. But this is also similar in that we've only got the 3 derivative sizes of images that were created off of these digitized files. So small, the thumbnail, screen, and large size. And there's still no search within for any of these images. Alongside this system was a custom-built cataloging web application that was used by collection managers to create records and add images and fill in the metadata through that web application. And then the third system that we're bringing in is Pages Online, which is a pre-Hyrax web application that was created after the Samvera community started, but before Hyrax came about. So it was back in the Hydra days, and more based on a version of the application from Princeton called Plum, if folks recall that. So none of our current content, none of the current legacy content that we have was migrated to this system, but new content is being ingested there. And it's mostly, this content has mostly been musical scores and concert programs from our School of Music. So it's a different kind of item, really, than either the Archives Online material, which is, folders of documents, or Image Collections Online with its individual photographs. So let's see. So digital collections, this is all going into this Hyrax web application, which for us at IU is heavily customized, but it is currently a Hyrax 296 using Fedora 4 in combination with a very early version of Bulkrax, and possibly one of the few implementations out there of Allenson Flex for varying metadata profiles within a single Hyrax instance. So this is what our setup is that we're moving all of this into. We are having to, for migration, we are having to generate new derivatives in order to migrate our legacy content from both the Archives Online and the Image Collections Online systems. And for Archives Online, we have managed to set up a METS import option with BulkRacks to allow METS XML files to build the file list and sequence for each work and ingest into Fedora 4 that way. And we're having to use the original TIFF files, though, so that we can get JPEG 2000 and OCR for zoomable functionality and search within capabilities. So this is a slow way to do migration, and we have a lot of content to migrate. So it has actually felt a lot more like this at times. And I think it has been like this, especially when we've been trying to add large items that have hundreds of pages. Despite all that, since January of 2022, we have migrated quite a lot of content from our legacy systems, and we are almost finished with the digitized content from our legacy Finding Aid site. But it has also been a real slog, and I think that's kind of putting it mildly. I think we have a mix of things that have occurred to find us here, and it's been rough, but I do believe we are moving ourselves and our digital collection management in the right direction. And just considering that we are dealing with over 370 collections right now and over 129,000 works with I don't even know how many files, and we're still doing migration work. I mean, that's saying something that we've managed to get through all of that. So the things that are really keeping me going are the improvements that we're seeing for researchers. So being able to have this discovery through metadata and the text within on digitized content is really helpful to have. It's something we've never been able to manage previously with either of the legacy systems that we have. So that is a real benefit to end users, and also the new derivatives providing the improved zooming. I call it zoomity zooming. So being able to see things in a lot more detail than we could ever provide before is also a real benefit. We're also looking at having easier embedding and sharing for our content in other contexts. And this screenshot is showing the universal viewer from Digital Collections embedded within Finding Aid collection in our new Archives Online site. So this is the new version of our Finding Aid site that we have up now. And yes, this is a bottle of Afrin nasal spray that is part of the Leonard Bernstein collection. This is probably the least impressive item we have in the School of Music's Leonard Bernstein collection, but having this item listed in the Finding Aid and being able to show that it is in fact part of the collection is really showing that we can connect our services, and it's showing how the viewer itself is becoming useful on its own outside of the context of the Digital Collections HYRAX application. And I think that has very useful possibilities for end users conducting research or working on online exhibits or other projects, regardless of their interest in nose spray. So we also are able to offer cross-collection searching. And this is something that we had a problem with in our separate services in the past. We were never able to offer a way to search across all of these Finding Aids and photograph collections and digitized books that we have. And having this Digital Collections application is allowing us to incorporate all of those together for cross-collection searching. So our migration path is requiring, like I said, that we create new file derivatives that we haven't had before. Additionally, we're kind of combining two different types of models here, two different types of items. One that tends to be multiple pages with minimal metadata. When we're looking at Finding Aids, we don't tend to have a lot of metadata. We're pointing over to the Finding Aid for the context. So the item is just the item, but the item tends to be something with several pages. And the other type of content that we have tends to be a single photograph with a lot more detailed description. So one is heavy on sequencing and ordering of images, and the other is heavy on varying of metadata fields. And on top of that, on top of combining these content models and redoing our derivative files, we're also shifting where our Fedora repository sits and how it's managed. It has been administered directly by IU Library staff in the past, but it's now being hosted and managed by our central IT at IU. And we refer to this as being managed at the enterprise level, since this is a system-wide management across all IU campuses, and it's not just the libraries in Bloomington. The idea is that it should take some of the digital repository management burden off of us, but in trying this with Fedora 4, I think we're running up against complications that are inherent with Fedora 4, and now we don't have direct access to work on mitigating those problems. And so that's been a real kicker for us, I think. We're already filling up the space that has been allocated to this Fedora repository with our JPEG 2000 derivative files. We're also currently dealing with issues where large items of, like 500 pages or more are either not completely importing or they're not editable after importing. It doesn't always happen, but it is happening sometimes. And we've also seen things like the list source bloat when trying to make edits on large works, and that can end up in Fedora connections just timing out when trying to make any changes, and the works just become uneditable. So that's kind of making everything just feels really complicated. But the migration, so at the same time, we really are progressing through our migration. It's slower than we were expecting, but it is happening. And our Finding Aid collections are almost completely migrated, and that is significant. That's a big thing. We're almost to the point where one of our legacy systems can be taken down. So we still have a lot of image collections to migrate, though. And like I said, we're running out of space in that enterprise Fedora 4 repository. So some of the things that we are working on right now, particularly for migration when works are larger, like 500 or more images per work, or the original files are a significant size, I don't know, like 300 meg or more, we're dealing with a really significantly large TIFF file. We're now using a process outside of the Hyrax application to generate the derivative files that we need, the JPEG 2000, OCR, and those sorts of things. And then just directly ingesting those derivatives when we're importing into Hyrax. That is alleviating some of the processing that's been backing things up for us between Hyrax and Fedora 4. This may not be necessarily long-term, but while we're using Fedora 4, we're also working on moving our derivative storage outside of Fedora 4 repository to enterprise storage that is cloud-based or cloud adjacent, maybe a local cloud. It's not AWS, but it's better able to manage the derivatives that we're generating, and there's more space available there. So we're also trying to update our bulk racks for a better importing experience. We've been using bulk racks version 1. I'm pretty sure that's the version number on it, and this entire time. And we know that there are much better capabilities with more recent versions. We're working on updating to Bulk Racks 5 right now, but since we started this work, Bulk Racks is actually up to version 8, so there's probably even more improvements that we could use. So I think there's some possibilities for helping ourselves out that way too. And I'm not exactly sure what I'm trying to do with this diagram, but I thought I was putting things together and trying to show the cloud having, storing the derivatives for us. So it's connected to Fedora repository, and it just ended up being entertaining using a lightning bolt and a kite. So there you go. So with future moves, we've kind of got some questions to answer for ourselves. So since we're still migrating, do we stick with the Hyrax 296 Fedora 4 combo through all of migration, or do we consider pausing migration to do the upgrade and then keep going? Do we have some sort of parallel system going on? We're likely to upgrade to Hyrax 5 Fedora 6 with bulk racks being updated as well. But if we're going to do this, we definitely have to be able to have the content that is in Fedora 4 move to Fedora 6 on the back end. There's no way we can deal with working through this via the Hyrax application like we're trying to do right now, and we shouldn't have to. We're getting the derivatives that we need. We just need to be able to move them. And keeping external derivative storage, when we do upgrade, we'll have to decide if we're going to keep these derivatives stored externally. If we end up switching out to this external storage, do we keep that going? And potentially, do we have a mix? I'm not quite sure if that's a possibility, but we might consider that as well for reasons I'll explain in a sec. But I kind of think we'll still want the digital repository for management and organization purposes, even if the derivative files or a subset of the derivative files are stored externally. But that's kind of a question that's out there for us. So, and I think one of the things that we're considering, this is something that I believe others in the community have already started using or are working on using, which is switching out from JPEG 2000 to tiled pyramid TIFFs. So my understanding is that tiled pyramid TIFFs are a way to package and serve really high resolution images. And the IIP image server, the link that I've got up there, they offer a way to stream ultra high resolution images. And it looks like we could do this by either optimizing the encoding of the JPEG 2000 files that we've created already, or by saving our original TIFF files in a tiled multi-resolution pyramid format, which I also think is a real missed opportunity to have a .pirate TIFF file extension, which is why I've got the little pirate ship there. But anyway, some of our objects are really high resolution map images. This is something we've encountered already in some of the migration work we've been doing, and serving those up as JPEG 2000 seems to actually be pushing it for being able to load and view even those derivative JPEG 2000 files through the viewer. So that might be a benefit for us. So what I've just talked through sounds kind of painful, and it is kind of painful, but there are very real benefits for end users that we need to have in place to make our digital collections more discoverable and usable for research and teaching. And then there's the experience we've gained as a development and service management team from being part of the Samvera community. We have increased our knowledge and confidence as product owners, as Ruby on Rails developers, using cloud storage, doing Docker deploys, and even just managing shared code in GitHub. That's all things that we have progressed through and become better at being part of Samvera. And the community continues to grow and evolve. And we've helped with that, I think, by contributing with Avalon Media Systems work, with HYRAX product owner and HYRAX tech lead work, and with community sprint work that we've been involved in. So IU's contributed quite a bit to the community, and now I think we really need to go and make use of those improvements ourselves. That is really our next step. So the journey does continue. We do have other HYRAX instances going up, such as an instance that we're calling DataCore for publishing research data sets at IU. And there are other instances that are also in the works that will be using HYRAX. And we hope the experiences that we are gaining in this digital collections experience and the work we've contributed to the community will help us with those projects. So that is what I have here. Looks like there's a couple of chats. So I don't know if there's time for questions or not, but that's I'm JL Hardis on Slack, and there's my email. So